everybody, and welcome to another episode of Conversations with Geoff. And we are so glad that you're here. And listen, for those of you that don't know, our mission is to bring in guests from all over the world to be able to help you, you that audience out there that's looking for answers, looking for information, looking for something to help you get beyond your stinking thinking. That's right, your stinking thinking, that conversation you're having with yourself about yourself. Take these empowering solutions and begin a new pattern, a new path in your life to find your way through the struggles, that comeback battle, right? Oh man, yes, indeed. So, hey, today we have somebody that, just an amazing person, a friend, a speaker, just some amazing things around a difficult subject, that subject that most of us know somebody, if not personally been involved in loss or disaster, and just not been prepared for it, man. Man, in so many ways. And yeah, we're talking, there's wills and estate planning, but man, there's some genius in what this guest is going to talk to you about. And I encourage you to take notes. I encourage you to make sure that you get anything that she's offering to follow up with her on, because I'll tell you, there's nothing worse than not being prepared in those times when family needs you, when you need them, disasters that are happening all over the world, just things like that, right? So anyway, let me just give you a highlight of her bio. Oh, by the way, my name is Geoff Tyson, and I'm known as the Comeback King and the host of Conversations with Geoff. And just really excited to have our guest here. So let me, first of all, I also apologize for our delay. That's a whole nother story around technology. Anyway, glad you're here. Make sure you share and subscribe and set the notification bell up. But just highlighting the bio from my friend, and here's something I like. She says, preventive strategies are her passion. Tough topics are tough. How do you prepare and cope with a sudden diagnosis, an accident, or loss of life? Or cope with business impact due to natural disasters, regulatory, technological, blah, blah, blah. I'm stumbling over my words, and inhuman factors. Right? Lynn says, life changes and evolves as we grow through it. We encounter new experiences through transitions like job changes, moves, new relationships, babies, and what? And so she says, what she does now. Man, there's so many things in here. I'm trying not to skip them. So she just saw a gap in society and created the Living Planner. And this is a powerful tool that she uses, providing contingency planning to individuals and organizations from the layperson's perspective. I love that. And then possibilities. We discuss how financial, legal, healthcare, taxes, accounting, and insurance professionals serve us. We plan for contingencies and document information for our colleagues and families. It matters to her, while working with individuals, families, and businesses, proactively seek action, primarily focusing on empowerment, relationships, open conversations, real open conversations for real conversations about life. As a 30-year global aviation professional who witnessed the aftermath and handled details for specific family impacted by aviation emergencies, talking about plane crashes, y'all, right? Emergency on large scales as a volunteer, emergency team member throughout her years in aviation, has a strong sense of service, experience, business acumen, and heart. She's worked with accountants, business attorneys, fiduciaries, financial planners, all those folks, keeping up on national and state laws, making a little upfront time for addressing life's challenges. Listen, this woman's got it all. Let me just get to why she's here. Let me bring my guest and our friend Lynn Lambrecht to the stage, ladies and gentlemen, and make sure you take notes and welcome her. Hey, Lynn, what's going on, my friend?
I love the blah, blah, blah. And the technology challenges. You guys, you know what? We can face anything in life with support and humor. I tell you.
I tell you what, you got to laugh at things, Lynn, right?
We do. And I say about 20 times a week, technology is my friend. Technology is my friend. Technology is my friend.
I was saying that for like 30 minutes trying to get ready for the show as things were not working out, but we're here today. We're here today, and you made the commitment to be here. So we know how busy you are. So thank you again for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me, Geoff.
Yeah. It's all good, girl. And we talk often when we do talk about what you do and how it got to be. So maybe just so people can kind of see behind the curtain as to all of that stuff I read, but really, I want you to tell us a little bit about how you really kind of landed in this space.
I think it's interesting. When I was in my 50s, you guys, I decided to take a look at all the pieces of my life, and I call it the patchwork quilt pieces of my life. So I had, my years in aviation, and that was from a sales function and calling on corporations and government and military installations, travel agencies, tour operators, wholesalers, all that kind of good stuff, and moved around a lot. But I think the thing that kept coming back was I was asked really early in my career, like my first day on the job, to consider becoming a volunteer emergency team responder. And my immediate response was, please tell me what that entails. And I think part of it is from how I grew up in my family with people in the medical and dental professions, that kind of side of the sciences. But it was also, I have a service heart, and I'm a live wire, a non-caffeinated live wire. But the other part of me is that I'm extremely calm when situations get a little more volatile. And I like sitting back and taking a look and saying, hold on, how do we best support those that have been impacted? How do we best support, whether it's your family, whether it's, at work, whatever. And I just kind of drink that in, and I can think on my feet really fast. And so, but, also remained like somewhat calm, which is kind of shocking when you know me as a person, because I'm a live wire.
Yes.
But in college and grad school, I was paying for school, and I became a resident assistant in the dorms in undergrad and a head res in grad school, and had my first exposure to crisis intervention trainings and different things. And that's when I understood that I truly did have that calm and that separation of saying, how do we best support? So when I was told that I would be, activated should we have a crash, and there were duties that I would have either with the families or the command center or on the ground, I said yes. I had no clue that I would be activated twice in my 20s, and I saw situations that really planted the seed for what I'm doing now. It was the time in your life when something big like that happens, you deserve to grieve. And people weren't really able to do that when I was heading up the crisis phone lines from midnight to 6 a.m. They were more concerned about, oh my gosh, how am I going to wake up tomorrow and do things that, we did together, not having access to that person or that person's information. Because you know what? We divide and conquer. We play to our strengths. Well, honey, I'll do this. Oh, I'll take care of that. I'll do it, blah, blah, blah. And that's kind of how we roll. And it's interesting because that little trail of breadcrumbs of what it really isn't often, just shared. Yeah. But it's also something that we're not taught. We don't have I'm in the, what I call adulting 601 class, since I'm in my 6th decade, but we need to have like adulting 101, 201 for each decade, because lives change. So, they change along the way, and we have so many phases of life, and responsibilities begin when we're 18. Well, what are those? We're too excited about having independence. Yeah. So it's really fun for me to, work again with the kids, but then take it through each of our little benchmarks of challenges. So honestly, I know it was the crash impact, Geoff, and I continued it throughout my career because I changed countries, companies, came back to the States, and was activated then for 9/11. So that piece has been there, but also my family piece has been a part of it, because my dad was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and that changes the ability to make decisions for yourself, your mental capacity. You're not really able to make those decisions. So thankfully I had harassed them for so many years that they had actually let me help them understand from the layperson side what is all this administrivia and stuff that surrounds life, and made it easier for our family, to be able to act and speak and write checks and take care of like different health questions and challenges on behalf of our dad, who wasn't able to, truly be 100% there anymore.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating because I think we get tripped up. 68% of American adults don't even have that will that you were talking about. And that's just, that's a very important piece. Yet our day-to-day activities are instrumental. That's the stuff that, that's the glue. That's what we're doing every day.
Yeah.
That stuff is like packed up here in autopilot. And, we just like rock and roll until we can't. And so it's like, okay, hold on. How do we actually go up to 42,000 feet? Let's be on a private jet and fly above the commercial people.
There you go.
Kind of look down and say, what is it that I actually do without second thought? So when the Living Planner was born, it was born when we actually, after my dad had died and after when my mom was entering into hospice. And it was like, okay. I didn't renew a contract that I had on an international assignment. I came back to the States and I thought, all right, I'm putting all these crazy little pieces together. And I love the professionals that help us in their lanes, whether it's the financial people, from a planning side or an accounting and tax side, whether it is, the insurance people who like help us with choose policies that are relevant, whether it is the attorneys that, like talk their language, believe me, but it's something that there are things by state law and by national law that they expect us to have in place so that we can avoid court ordered decisions. Because when we don't have those documents, the court decides. We don't always understand that, and it's not that the court's being mean. It's just that the courts are there to say, okay, hold on, what do these people value? What do they want? How do we, process things on their behalf now that they might be in difficulty from a capacity side or difficulty for the family because they're no longer here. And they just want like a roadmap. So I'm the queen of like breadcrumbs. Let's leave breadcrumbs for each other. Let's craft up the roadmap. And what are all those gazillion things that we do naturally? So that's how the Living Planner was initially born.
Great story, Lynn. I appreciate you sharing that. I can still feel some of the emotions from early when you began that journey in the disaster field. I know you've shared some of the stories there.
Yeah, but you know what? It helps us appreciate each day. And I get to jump up and say, oh my heavens, thank you for this day. And, the other piece is, who are my helpers? And that's what I learned before my dad's diagnosis in the second crash, when everyone lived and I was helping someone that wasn't able to do things, but was still physically present. I did all my legal documents in my 20s because I thought, you know what? Hold on. I only thought this was for old people. As I am now, and at the end of life, it wasn't like, oh crap, I might not be at 100%. That was kind of my wake up. And I thought, all right, what do we do every day to make life easier for ourselves and others that we care about? And that's, what are the things that we need to take care of, and how do we then go about it? And I know none of us have time. And I know that we have emotional woogies about talking about it. But to me, it's empowering to say, these are the things that matter to me. I want to express this and choose this so that other people are aware. And I want to make sure that my wishes are honored in a way that's respected by, the legal system. And so that's, like at the crux of me. So whether it's at work or for us personally, oh my God, you guys, there's a gazillion things. I mean, it's absolutely fascinating. And I feel like I'm spinning plates, keeping up with some of the laws and all the rest of it. But, I want to be aware too, so that I can help you understand why and, what it really means. Because I think our awareness starts before action is taken. And what we don't know, we don't know. And so I try to make it accessible and approachable. And yes, I have a warped sense of humor, but I'm also going to dig into the details and say, okay, hold on. And I've had so many life experiences living as an expat twice. And, I've lived in 17 places in 35 years, and I've seen the impact of each of those places on some of the decisions. And, our lives are our lives. And so let's just take care of ourselves.
That's so beautifully said, Lynn. I mean, you covered a lot of different things in there. I'm taking notes, right? Because every time I talk to you, I always walk away with the different perspective or clearer perspective on a lot of things. And you talked about awareness starts before action is taken. And you made me think about, if you're not aware and you don't have the information, then you're forced to take action blindly.
And when the emotions are at their highest, and it's really hard because that impacts our clarity of thought.
Yeah.
And it impacts our ability to truly act in a way that we wouldn't before we need it. That's why I'm such a promoter of taking the proactive.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm incredibly gentle when people are going through things and decide that this is the time. But that's a time where, whether it's a health challenge or another challenge, that's the time that you need to be kind of focused on you and your healing and whatever that situation is. And when we don't have the opportunity to do that because we're forced, then I don't know, we get fuzzy, and there is physiological impact. We get tired, our emotions are high. I mean, our brains are fuzzy. It's tough.
It takes a lot more energy, and just personally, as you know, April this year we lost a loved one, and we were. I think I mentioned to you that we weren't as prepared as we should have and could have been, and you have been in my life prior to that. So it's shame on me and us for not utilizing the source.
No, it's not. I mean, Geoff, it's. Yeah. I mean, I think human nature is we're busy people. We have a gazillion things going on too. And time is, we always think we have plenty of time. And, we do, I mean, to a certain level, but you know what? I'm kind of that mitigation of, I like to, the risk mitigation is part of my soul. And I like to look at plan A, plan B, plan C, and it's just something that I know I have a different perspective. And I just want us to know that we can choose for ourselves. And we, when we prepare in advance and understanding that crazy labyrinth and web of stuff, it makes it a little easier. And it's why I wrote my book. It's why I do my well-being checkups. It's why I do business contingency planning. Because, even at work, I mean, what happens? We had a pandemic. Were people ready? Yeah. Loss of a key employee. Holy crap. I've seen business owners that don't have anyone else that have check signing authority. Well, something happens to them. What happens to the vendors and the employees? So, it's just, I know we don't want to walk down that road, but just like we prepare for a cyber attack or to be hacked, there's a time in life where sometimes disruptions occur for us too. So, the organization of documents, well, what documents are you talking about? Well, we have to figure it out. And so, I have like my little way that I go through, like from a personal side and also from corporately. But, it's just, we just do it.
Yeah. And so, what would be, like, and this is a hard question to answer with the time we have, and I want to ask it in a way that people can. You're so pleasant and eloquent, around how you really, you just want to slap people sometimes. And this is just Geoff's. This is a Geoffism.
I don't want to slap people. I want to lift them up. So you go ahead and slap, and I'm not going to slap.
Sometimes we need slap.
I'm give a hug.
You can hug them after I slap myself. Sometimes it does. People do that, but you have a way of just being present and making people comfortable with that. So I compliment you in that space because it's difficult, and obviously it's the experiences that you've had in your life that bring the tenderness, bring the empathy, allow you to really
it's just hard.
Yeah. So now you get this stuff going on. What are some of the things that have been difficult that you haven't covered? What would be one thing that's been difficult for you, for someone else that wants to pursue something that's different, that's, different field, but has kind of the same kinds of uncomfortableness in conversation or in career or family.
It's interesting. I mean, I've not been asked this before, but I'll tell you what's difficult is when there's a reduction in force.
Mm,
And people, that piece impacts people tremendously.
yeah.
And, we're going through a little bit of that again in the tech sector. And, life is coming at them fast at that point. And, there might be, might be support afterwards for, skills assessment, job placement, other things, but it's similar. From that's the first thing that popped into my head, Geoff, is,
Yeah, that's good.
I mean, because that's something. Okay, so I'm a geek. I decided I was going to create an organizational chart for the life, for perspective of life. And I have my CEO and my CTO and my CMO, and I have all the departments. And then I put all the little pegs down, because sometimes that helps us look at life a little differently, because life is a little like a business. And maybe it's because I've been in business too long. And I mean, I love that part, but I mean, my mushy heart drives. So it's like, okay, hold on. How can we look at this more from here rather than just being, stopping? So that the reduction in force, I have to tell you, the first time I was a leader of people and had to, notify people that they were not going to be on my team, I was awful. And I mean, I remember talking that it was supposed to be structured in such a way that they all flew into my office and blah, blah, blah. Oh, hell no. I mean, I hopped on airplanes to go visit them.
Yeah.
My boss is like, Lynn, that HR. And I said, fire me.
Yeah.
These people deserve dignity. And I'm going to give it to them. And it was pretty hilarious because it spread like wildfire across the system that Lynn was the one that was going to people rather than having them come to her. Yeah. And the last person that I got to, he met me at the gate and gave me a huge hug. And I mean, we both started crying, so you guys, I'm incredibly relational. I'm not transactional in either with work or life in life at all. And I think that, I think it's up to us to be as human as we can. And to, like really think about things that matter. And I think that's the piece that this whole planning part, okay, hold on. Do you want to leave your people in the lurch? I mean, oh yeah, I'm not going to be here. Well, guess what? Yeah, you're gone. But who's cleaning up the poo-poo in the backyard? That's it's going to be those that love you. Or who's cleaning up the poo-poo at the office, and who's going to be served by that. So I think it's just important when we can like live in a world that actually supports one another and lifts each other up. That's kind of where I am. I'm a care for people, care for business kind of person.
I love it. Care for people, care for business.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that about you too, and you're right in the tech space in particular, and not to fall off the direction we're going, because, AI is something that's
there's a lot of change going on.
A lot of change going on, some for the better, sometimes, and I always.
It's part of the evolutionary cycle. I mean, life has been doing this my entire career.
Yeah. And I spent some time in corporate America doing what you're talking about. So they had some flashbacks. And it was interesting too. I took a similar approach in terms of compassion.
Yep.
Right. And fairness, and
employees are the first customer any company ever has. I mean, when you really look at it, how you treat your internal people is how you're treating anyone on the outside. You're modeling it. Yep. So, that isn't always a part of the way the structure or the culture is. So, you know what? Each one of us can make a little difference.
Right. And have some compassion and empathy.
Always.
And it's a better world when we come together than it is when we push each other apart.
Yep.
So you're here, and you are you able to talk about those that come to you after the fact, Do you do you represent that as part of your services? You know,
I it's interesting. I try to keep the reactive and after space a little more separate. I have helped like young people who, like with parents and stuff, when attorneys have asked me to help with that. Um,
mhm.
I tend to, I mean, sometimes after the diagnosis or something, absolutely, because people are still here and they're, available to like start making some decisions. And so then we can kind of guide through that and make sure that they have information that they need and the professionals they need to take the action. But truly, after the fact, I kind of save that for my family, uh,
Mhm.
just because there are a lot of different administrative sides that are incredibly personal, and I don't know that you want me in your your I don't in your financial space and in your all that stuff. But if somebody needs me to read something real quick, I mean, I'll do that. So it just really kind of depends. I'm
Yeah,
always happy to be a resource and help tell you give you some opportunity to discuss with some true professionals in whatever field it is that you're questioning.
yeah. No, I just because we were in that situation, and I
I
knew that.
know.
Oftentimes we put things off until it's too late. Sometimes, and so
Mhm.
what are when you're meeting somebody? Let's talk about that process. So you have a client, and I know we've talked, and it varies a lot. But for those that will hear you, what's the way that you
I have a discovery call, Geoff, and I
yeah
think that's a free discovery call just to see, where you are. Because honestly, so much is dictated by the state of your residence.
okay
And even if you have multiple properties, I mean, what is your true state of residence?
yeah
Each of our 50 states and DC and Puerto Rico have different ways that they handle the official acts, if you will. And they, even the unofficial. So it's fascinating because we have a lot of our personal day to day life is something that is always going to be unique because that's unique to you.
yeah
Are you flying solo? Do you have are you married? Are you divorced? Are you widowed?
right
What's that type of situation? Do you have children? Do you have pets?
mhm,
Do you own land? Do you have land, livestock? I mean, it's just everybody is really, really different. And so that's the protection of what the people in your world and also the things that you have are very different that way.
right
And then, it's fascinating because, the business side, I tend to ask if the personal stuff is like all buttoned up first. And then we get into like, what is your business structure?
mhm,
Are you an S corp? Are you a C corp? Are you an LLC? Are you a sole prop?
right
Have you been in compliance with all of your state regulations?
yeah
Blah 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 blah. Do you have employees? Do you have independent contractors? Are you doing this? How are you managing payroll? How are you? So then blah, 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 blah. So each of those kinds of the situations are very different. When I'm
mhm,
working with the kids, it's great because it's like, okay, hold on, you're just starting out. Now, do you recognize that your parent or guardian cannot be contacted if you're 18 years old and you have a medical emergency unless you've given permission? Oh, what do you mean? Well, if your primary care doctor has a HIPAA document and you need to, you have to give permission because you are now the person in charge. And
an adult yeah
a lot
wow
of people that's not that's news to them, and a lot of parents that's news to them because they're saying those kids are on my insurance. Well, yes, they are, but they are now considered adults under the law.
wow
So, I mean, again, it depends. Where are you in your phase? I've had a lot of young professionals that I've worked with too that have said, "What in the heck are these benefits?"
yeah
Because we haven't I remember when my first day on the job, after grad school in my 20s, and I got thrown, a bunch of documents. I had no idea what that stuff was. And I was supposed to read and sign and read and sign and read and sign. And you do, but you don't know what does that impact to me?
yeah
How does that affect me? So, I mean, I've done that for some of the young professionals where I'll just say, okay, hold on. what are the options? What are the choices? Okay, PPO is this, HMO is this. Okay, disability is really income replacement insurance. Is it short term? Is it long term? Did you know there's a 90-day wait? Blah, 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 blah. So I'm just a geek that loves seeing the components that are impacting you, and then saying, okay, now how do we best, make sure you've got on some underwear.
Yeah.
In case your pants are down or skirt is up.
Yeah, I just had an image of that. So
well, we gotta see again. We gotta break sometimes that mode of thinking, oh, I'm gonna be paralyzed. No, come on.
Ooh,
put on our armor.
Hey, Dr. Pam, thanks for showing up, talking about Marty Joe Robinson, Gene Coach Kelly, and she's smiling, waving, sending her love. Thank you, Dr. Pam, for showing up today. Sorry, I still got that image in my head. So
but just pretend it's armor, Geoff.
Yeah, okay. All right, so that's really good stuff. So now you work with youngsters, you work with business folks, you work with professionals. Is there anybody else?
A lot of young adults, because I can ask them. Because honestly, with all the care I've done with my parents and walk through that path of life for each of them since I was the youngest oops child, I've seen a lot. And honestly, I mean, a lot of times I'll talk about parenting parents. What's the information that we need to have so that we can be helpers should that be needed, in time, most of the time it's like, my parents aren't going to talk to me. But I said, well, it took me 14 years to get mine to go for it. We can, it's something that we can try. And there are certain things, if we truly are to, like be called to an emergency room, what do you need to have? If the social worker's calling and saying they've got to be transported to long-term care, or rehab, what do we need? So, I mean, and you can do it from a distance. I will be the queen of confessing that, because when Dad was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, I was in China. And when Mom was on her failing trip, I was in Montreal.
Yeah, you're all over the place. I remember.
I mean, I've been that long distance person too before coming back to the States to assist. So, it's just, there's a whole lot of variables that come into play in our crazy lives. And the discovery call allows us to see the complexity of what you have, and then decide whether or not, this is something that you want to pursue. And if you do, then, sometimes people just buy my book because it's something that gets them from that awareness side before the action is taken. Sometimes they want to, I do a well-being checkup for them and their business. So, I try to be as flexible as I can be to serve the needs of the people who are willing to plan and dig in a little bit.
Yeah. Because I'm hearing you say, even with the family, you've got the young professional that maybe still at home with the parents, or then you have the parent there. And thanks, Dr. Pam, for, she's saying thanks for sharing this information for people that need to have that. Hey, Kimberly, thanks for stopping in. So Lynn, man, this, I got to ask you this.
Uh-oh. You're scaring me, Geoff.
No, I mean,
I'm ready.
How do you? Yeah, no. It's just kind of like, how do you? So you got all this information, and people need this thing, and people are like, oh yeah, like giving you song and dances, and really, don't have any intention, and you have what they need.
Honestly, I can only lead a horse to water. I cannot make them drink.
Hey, yeah, that's right.
So it's not my job to convince somebody.
Yes.
It's my job to make sure that people are aware that this is kind of the administrative side of life is a whole lot more complex than we know. And even after someone dies, I mean, oh my God, the follow-up. That's in my book. I have the pre-planning things that we can do, what to do at a loss, and then the ongoing follow-up, because holy crap. I mean, it's the administrivia that comes into play. It's crazy. And I think that analogy, I'm going to give you an analogy. Okay, let's pretend I get married and I decide I'm going to change my name. Oh, do you know what you have to do? I mean, that name change is a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
So take that administrivia and apply it to your entire life. And it's that on steroids.
Yeah.
So, when we don't know, honestly, it's just, I would rather people at least be aware in advance so that they might have access to some of the information and be able to make some of those calls and limit them to like maybe one call a day, because everything's a trigger at that point.
I like that. Everything is a trigger. That's so powerful. And that trigger just makes things worse. And Dr. Pam has something in here, and it has kind of as an example. And I asked the question too, because, there are people out there that are going to not listen to what we're talking about. And wish they had, and people already have family members like that. And she says, when an emergency happens and the person is going to be okay, who pays the bill while they're in long hospital stay, for example? How do they know if you're the spouse or maybe surviving children or partner? These things this is kind of what we're talking about, real stuff like this. And you mentioned all the different things. What happens to the pets? She also says, and so I mean, there's.
Have you made any plans in advance for your pets? Because did you know that in all of our states we have pet trusts? And if you don't want to get that formal, then you have a pet protection agreement. I mean, you guys, I'm a complete geek. I will say, okay, what from a billing perspective? Oh, Dr. Pam, that's always a doozy, because are they on Medicare or not? Do they have insurance or not? Have they talked to the hospital or not? I mean, families are still obligated to pay bills even if someone dies. So that's why the medical debt is the largest reason we have bankruptcies in this country. And that's, why some of those changes have been so beneficial that the administration has been trying to make of eradicating that medical debt, because it puts people behind forever. Yeah, and then, if children are there and, surviving, well, okay, do they have SSI? How do you go through that gyration? I mean, we have, unfortunately, complexities around any system and program that is there. And companies make things sometimes overly complex too. I'm kind of like that. Let's just cut it through and keep it simple, silly. So no, we can't anticipate everything that happens. But if you can take care of your own stuff first and make sure that information is collated and logical and communicated, please communicate. Because if you do it and don't share, it's as if you haven't done it. Yeah. So, I go, that's why I call it the well-being checkup. It's like every area and communication. So, I want to make it fun, you guys. I really do. But there's a whole lot we got to kind of go swimming through some quicksand. Yeah, we got to roll our sleeves up and get busy with the difficult things. And the nice thing I like too, and it talks about in your bio, is that, most people when they talk about this subject, the first thing they think about is, attorneys, court, probate, all this stuff. And that's true. But you break it down. I mean, this little survey, I call it, really kind of gets you thinking about things. And that's what I love about your service and your book. So you mentioned your book too. And so how do people get the book? How's it sold? And what's the name of it? I have it on my website. What I had done, Geoff, is I put it as a comment. Do you want me to put it or a private chat? Do you want me to put it in the comments?
Or tell me and we'll get it together. What is it the website that you said it's a website?
Well, it's in the private chat.
Well,
between me and you. I gave you the guys the link. It's called The Living Planner: What to Prepare Now While You Were Living. Okay. It's a paperback book. Honestly, here's one. It looks like this. Hold on. There we go. Yeah. And so it's, I try to keep it pretty simple, but it has some, pre-planning, at a loss, ongoing follow-up, and then I have some appendices in the back just to kind of get you thinking about, okay, what do I need to start truly documenting? And I had it on Amazon for a while, but it's so funny. People were pretending to be me, and they were charging $200 rather than the $29.95 free shipping that I charged. So I took the ebook off of that, and they got mad at me. So they now say my print book isn't available. I mean, it's kind of interesting. We
Wow.
learn lessons along the way. So I sell it on my website, and
Okay.
it's $29.95 and free shipping, because I want to not gouge, and shipping costs were like going way up. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to do a fixed price and I'll eat it.
Yeah. Man, and we've had that discussion. If you guys wonder where the heart is of this person, you wonder if see, I tell it all the time, it's not enough,
It's fine.
Yeah, I know we duke over it, right? Because she has so much that she offers. Man, I mean, this is just kind of a conversation, highlighting it from 30,000 feet up. And already, I've got a full page of notes, and can get more. So, Lynn, thank you for you just being you,
Thank you, Geoff.
and sharing something that is really relevant for all of us. And
we've all know that we don't have to wait till we're old, you guys. I will tell you, yes, I've lived in 17 places in 35 years around the world. My stuff started in my 20s. I've had many additions. So the cool part from the legal side is that we can change our minds. And when we change our minds, we change our document. But we just have to remember, don't ever write on a will or a trust. Don't print on it, because that's a no-no. So take separate notes. But it's just fascinating to me, because we evolve. So guess what? We get to change, and we get to modify. So it's not once and done. I tell you, I know you would prefer probably that it would be, because then you don't have to go through the emotional turmoil again. But honestly, to me, that's more empowering, because it's like, okay, this is what I thought in this moment. Does this continue to serve? So when I grumble once a year to do all my taxes, I grumble doing this too, because I put on NFL football, watch divisional games, and I go through this process and just say, okay, is this relevant? Is this current? Is this this? Is this that? And I try to make it as doable as I can with, again, putting the reality into it.
Yeah, I love that. So and you mentioned the survey. I call it a survey. I'm sorry, it's probably not that. Is that something that you can do, like if a family has children and all? Is that something that you can send? How does that work? Because I want people to understand how easy it can be before we go.
What I do in my well-being checkup, let's just pretend well-being checkup. It's traditionally, a lot of times it's, a single person, or them and their partner and or spouse, or a significant other, or, that's okay. And we start going through, I call it my peeling the onion back, series of questions, and just about your life. This is after the discovery call, when you say, yeah, you know what, I want to dig a little deeper. We start digging. And we tend to do it via Zoom, and I record it if you would prefer, because a lot of times there's a lot of information, and we can kind of shut down a little bit when the emotions start rising. So I'll record it, and I take as long as we need. It's usually like an hour and a half. And then afterwards, I complete an email to you with what I call my gap analysis of reviewing the questions and seeing the areas where you're doing really great and the areas where there's gap. And, maybe some suggestions on how you could pursue. And then we have a follow-up call. So the follow-up call is in your time. It could be 30 minutes later, or 30 days later. It can be 15 days later. It can be 6 months later. It doesn't matter. I just want to make sure, you have gotten everything and it's clear. and if you have any questions, I want to answer them. And, then you get to confess to me whether or not you think that you've got what you need to pursue it on your own. Or, I've had one young couple was like, okay, we know we need to do this stuff. We're never going to do it. Will you like hold our feet to the fire? And I said, ooh, I don't know if you want to ask me that. Remember, I come from corporate.
Wrong person to ask that.
And it was hilarious because they said, what's your time frame? Let's work backwards. And they said 18 months. And I said, cool. And they said, really? And I said, you wanted me to say no, didn't you? And then they were like, uh-huh. So we did what I called a commitment calendar, every month, and gave them a few things that they could start doing, and followed up. And 18 months later, they were calling me and saying, we're going to the attorney, we're ready to go, and off we go. So, it depends on what you need and what you want. I'm very, very flexible with how I have my baseline, but then if we need to go outside the box, I'm not really in a box. So that's good.
All right. And then I didn't hear you mention it, and I think I know, but what the discovery call, is it
free? No, this discovery call is complimentary.
Complimentary. All right. Listen, I don't know what else to tell you folks out there, including myself. Right? Because we had to discuss it 2 months ago. I said, oh, yeah, I'm ready. I'll do it. I get all of it.
I know, but it's summer and life happens. And that's what, and don't worry, I'm gum on your shoe. I always
You're so kind, man. I was like, yeah, at the heat of the moment. And I did talk to my wife and daughter, so they're aware. Right? So taking those steps.
That's a step. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, because I know, man. I wrote this thing that awareness starts before action is taken. That's powerful. You've said so many one-liners that are powerful today.
My Lynnisms.
Yeah, yes. And Dr. Pam says, hey, we work with you, and you've done a tremendous job. And
thank you, Dr. Pam.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. And we know you come from the heart. We know your business is needed. And I want to thank you. Any last parting words? Because I can talk to you forever, because we just started to get into some things.
I know we're going to bore people. You guys don't take naps at this point. But if you want to find me, my website is thelivingplanner.com. And my work email, official work email, is Lynn, Lynn, at thelivingplanner.com. Feel free to reach out.
So I have Living Planner.
You're going to... my on-the-go email is thelivingplanner@gmail.com.
The Living Planner?
@gmail.com. But my Lynn at thelivingplanner.com is my official, more my corporate email. And then Geoff, in the comments is my link for my book. And I don't think I can't add a comment. So I am not permitted to join the chat.
Yeah, and I don't know why that is with StreamYard. I'm gonna have to figure that out. But I hope I put it in there right. I put thelivingplanner@gmail.com and then livingplanner.com.
Well, I'd rather have Lynn at thelivingplanner.com. For official work stuff. My on-the-go email is the Living Planner. It's when I'm scheduling, either way, it's fine.
Okay.
It's fine. But my book is on my website at thelivingplanner.com. Or
right.
If you want to just have a link to the shopping cart, that's what I put in the comment section.
Well, I agree with Dr. Pam. Buy the book and then make the call. I have the book and looked at it, and it's just really laid out in ways that you're like, man, I never thought of this. I never thought of that. I never thought of this. All these things we never thought of that she has put together. So, all right.
I remember my dad telling me, Linny, he wasn't in business per se. He was a dentist, so of course he ran a business, but he didn't think of himself as in business. And he was like, I don't interface with all these people all the time. I have no idea what to ask and don't want to look stupid. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to try to write this as if I was writing it to my dad. And putting down we need a home inventory. Hey, do you know about banking? Do you know about this? Oh, do you know about that? So, I think honestly, the more relatable we can be with how it impacts your daily life is important to me. So I'm always game for feedback. I update that book every year because there are new national and national law changes and legislative changes. We can plan till the cows come home, and then all of a sudden they change the retirement scene, or they, legislation changes something else, and it's like, holy crap, how does that impact me? So I love to keep up on that stuff.
Yeah. Well, I would say, just thinking, get the book. It's 2 cups of Starbucks coffee or and a fry.
It's a short chapter, and they're not, and you can read a little chapter and put it down, and read a little chapter and put it down. So
and that's what I did, and I went through it. It doesn't take long, so it's an outstanding tool, just like all your information that you've shared today. So I'm really gonna let you go now. Dr. Penn dropped a lot of different names in there. I didn't see all of them, but thank you all for being here today.
Geoff, for having me.
Yeah, it's something we need to do on a regular basis, every 6 months at least, just a reminder to check in with people, because the reality is we're all going to leave here sometime. And how we leave and who we leave behind, with the crap or with the plan. So, my friend, thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
All right, you do the same. Tremendous job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, listen, so I hope you all have taken some time to really think through what we've talked about today. And I encourage you to reach out to my friend Lynn and take her up on what she's saying to you, and get the book, because it's really something that, it just opens your eyes to a lot of things. And don't do like I did. Have the tools and don't use them. Get the tools and get it done, right? She talks about here, we always think we have extra time or enough time. We don't. We never know, right? We never know when somebody may still be living but lose their mental capacities to make decisions for us to help their life better. We don't know. We don't know what the world's going through. There's a whole lot of crazy things going on in life. So I challenge you to go back and listen to a lot of things that we've talked about today. Share this information. Have a family meeting. And remember this, as we always say on Conversations with Geoff, we hope we've given you something that you can do, some empowering solutions to be thinking about in your life, so you too can have the best life you're meant to have, and get over that stinking thinking, and know that the battle of life is won in the comeback. So we appreciate everybody for showing up today. Share this information. Lynn, thank you again for your time. Get the book, take the call. You guys take care. See you on the next episode of Conversations with Geoff. The battle is won in the comeback, baby. Don't give up. Watch your stinking thinking. See you next time.